నమస్తే, వెల్కమ్ టు ఉద్యోగ ప్రస్థానం. మరి ఉద్యోగులు అనగానే ఆ యొక్క జీతాలకు పనిచేస్తూ ప్రభుత్వానికి విధేయులుగా ఉంటూ మరి వారి యొక్క కార్యకలాపాలను మరి ఆ యొక్క ప్రభుత్వానికి అంకితం చేస్తూ ప్రజలకు అంకితం చేస్తూ ఉంటారు. మరి రిటైర్మెంట్ అయిన తర్వాత కూడా కొంతమంది తమ యొక్క జీవితాన్ని ఎస్సీ ఎస్టీ ఈ మైనారిటీకి సంబంధించిన వీరి యొక్క ఇష్యూస్ కూడా మరి అంకితం చేస్తుంటారు. అటువంటి కోవలోకి వస్తారు మన ఆర్ కృష్ణదాస్ గాంధీ గారు. వీరు ఐఏఎస్ 1977 బ్యాచ్. 1977లో మరి ఐఏఎస్ బ్యాచ్కు చెందిన ఆర్ కృష్ణదాస్ గాంధీ గారు మనతో పాటు ఉన్నారు. వారి యొక్క ఉద్యోగ ప్రస్థానం వివరాలను మన ప్రేక్షకులకు తెలుసుకునే ప్రయత్నం చేద్దాం. హాయ్ సార్, నమస్తే, వెల్కమ్ టు ది ఉద్యోగ ప్రస్థానం ప్రోగ్రామ్.
Nice meeting you, all of you.
Yes sir, please tell us about your career and your education and childhood to the viewers of Masterkey TV. Please share with us.
I was in the IAS for about 35 years, which had given me a lot of opportunity to see the world, especially see the world from the angle of SC and STs, because I had taken care to relate myself to them mostly. Of course, I also belong to a scheduled caste community in Tamilnadu.
Okay.
My father was in the police service. He retired as a superintendent of police. More than being an officer, a stiff officer, a uniformed service officer, my father had brought us up in such a way that we could see humanity as such, a kind of equal humanity, how to relate to all kinds of people in the same way, and how to get concerned with others. That is the kind of brought up we had from our father, more than the type of education we had and all that. Of course, we had come up very well. It's a big family of 6 people. All of us had come up very well in the education. I was school first in plus 2 and all that. But more than that, my father had brought us up on the lines of Thiruvalluvar and Valalar. Valalar is a great saint of Tamilnadu. So he has every day, almost every day, he used to tell us one verse from Arulpa, that is Valalar's writings. எவ்வுயிர் திரளும் என்னுயிர் எனவே.
It means in our English.
Yeah, I will tell you.
Yes.
So you treat every other being as your own being.
Okay.
And then what for? Nal inburach seyyavum. What is the meaning of my being? Is to make others happy. எவ்வுயிர் திரளும் என்னுயிர் எனவே எண்ணினால் இன்புறச் செய்யும் அவ்வுயிர்களுக்கு வரும் இடையூற்றை அகற்றியே அச்ச நீக்கிடவும். So again, what is the purpose of your life? To understand their sufferings, and not only that, don't shed tears over their sufferings, but resolve them. That is the contribution you have to make as a human being here. So that is how the meaning of our life was built upon. Therefore, after I entered this service, though this service is full of authority, power.
And stress too, I think.
Stress is not that much. We may be giving stress to others, but I don't think that we were under any stress of that kind. So after entering this service also, this essentials of life had provided the kind of a framework for my service. So there, the priority was not to show off myself, to show that I excel in my service. Of course, we were much better than so many of the other colleagues, and we could perform in our profession much better than others. But then, it is not the pride as to how you show yourself off that gives any meaning to your profession. So I entered service in 1977. It was by accident. I don't think I had any deliberate intentions or aspirations that I should become this and that. And that is it was just like those days. We don't go for so much of coaching as these people do here.
Yes.
I don't believe in these selection processes or coaching being done, how people get selected for NEET and all that. I absolutely have no faith in that. Because when you go through an education system for 12 years in schools and later on 3 years plus 2 years in colleges, and what other coaching you need? So, all the merit or knowledge that you are supposed to imbibe, you do that in these 12 plus 5 is 22 years, 12 plus 5 is 17 years. So, that is sufficient knowledge for you to apply yourself to a given job. And thereafter, if you want to test them over a kind of an interview as we do now over 5 minutes, and in that 5 minutes, in that narrow space, and how he blutters something is not the kind of skill that has to be determined. Yes. But anyway, so those days we just like that. A few of us gathered together and we thought, why not attempt this? And then we attempted, we came through.
And what about our family members? And
it's a big family. My father was, as I told you, a police officer. He was a very great educated man and a very knowledgeable man. He was a very charismatic personality.
Okay.
But my wife, my mother, his wife, was not so educated. The kind of parenthood that we enjoyed has a lot of, when I look back, I find that they have been very fabulous parents in the sense there was so much of women power in our house. As I told you, my mother, she didn't even finish a 5th standard. But my father, as I told you, was a giant of a man.
Okay.
Both in his erudition as well as in his stature. But then, my mother had the ultimate control in the family.
Okay.
So, there's so much
mother only plays the key role in the family, I think.
My father never handled a single pie in his life. His earning he will give to our mother, and my mother used to give us whatever money that we require. And not only that, even the money that my father may require when he goes out for a camp and all that, he used to go and just beg my mother, why not you please give me this much of money, I go with it. So, that is how it was.
So, how was your schooling days and college days during those days?
Then I enjoyed my schooling. Of course, it was in the local Tamil medium.
Yes.
And my college days also. Looking back, what appears, the essence that I have got from my schooling is not so much those letters, the kind of people with whom I grew up.
Okay.
No school was defined for any particular group of people. We had rich people and we had the poorest of people. We had people like me from high status, and my friend in the 5th standard I know is the son of the lady who was selling this Yalande Pallam in front of a school over a spread sack. So, we had grown up with all kinds of people where we could naturally pick up the essence of humanity, how you relate to people. That's all. It's not based on stature, based on his figures, based on his religion. And these days, so much is talked about caste and all that. We had nothing, and I was supposed to be a kind of a good student in school. My best friend was supposed to be the rowdiest of that class and all that. Okay. But we had such a good rapport with each other. So therefore, all these things, when I joined the service, that too an IAS where we are supposed to handle a lot of worldly things. We have to handle all kinds of people. So
And, say a few words about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in your words.
of course, in our age group, we had no opportunity in the educational institutions to even see the portrait of Ambedkar. That was the system till about 1990, Ambedkar's centenary years. But then after entering service only in 1980s and more intensely after 1990, I started getting to know about Ambedkar, and his ideals define my functioning mostly. And I don't think without Ambedkar anybody can have a very modern kind of an approach to the welfare of SCs for the upliftment of the SCs. I had a great opportunity.
Some of the communities saying that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar belongs to the certain communities only, not to the all communities.
That is one of their stupidities, and we need not even discuss about that. A leader is a leader, and Dr. Ambedkar was so essential to not only our people but also to the country, because the country's major requirement is to establish equity. And I don't think nobody else in the modern era had taught the essence of equity in the way Ambedkar had expositioned. He had not only provided theories and formulas, in empirical way, he had shown how we can go about implementing these ideals, and that is the greatness of Ambedkar. Of course, the fundamentals of equity we can get from so many other people also. Of course, I got them from our Tirukkural, as I told you about Vallalar. You can get a lot of these things from the Bible also, from the Quran also. On top of it, Ambedkar has shown these equity, the implementation of equity in modern times in a very scientific way, in a political way too.
Okay.
So that is where, without an Ambedkar, we may not be able to apply the fundamentals of equity and equality in actionable programs in the government. And therefore, he is so essential for services like our IAS and IPS, where we are supposed to handle so many people in an equitable way. But without him, I don't think the kind of coaching that we get in our IAS Academy in Mussoorie would have told us how to go about. In the job, the most of the jobs we are told is for our own kind of an upliftment, for my own sustenance, for accumulation of my wealth. This is how the job is perceived. Therefore, if you want to go to IT, then you have to struggle hard, then you have to study this, you have to equip yourself so much. This is how everywhere the skill training is made. The skill training tries to polish the individual, that's all. But nowhere we are told how to be useful to somebody else. I don't carry on a job for my own self, whether it is a small worker in a factory or a collector of a district. I don't work for myself, do I? Does the fitter work for himself? He has to fix a bolt of the door of a car.
And one more question, sir. Do you believe in payback to society?
Believe in?
pay back to society, as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said.
So that's what I said, that after I studied Ambedkar in an intense way, I had an opportunity to translate some of his writings in Tamil when
Okay.
in the early 1990s, his works got translated in Tamil. There are now about 35 volumes. So I have a lot of satisfaction that I could contribute myself in this way in translating his works in Tamil for a few chapters. So that is where got a lot of insight into Ambedkar's ideals. One of them is, of course, is pay back to your own society.
Yeah, pay back to society.
That has a lot of meaning. It's not a very ordinary slogan mongering. It doesn't mean that pay 1% of salary or 10% of your earnings to somebody. That is not paying back to somebody else. Paying back to society is,
In your own words.
what excellence you think you have achieved is what you should provide to somebody else.
Okay.
Somebody else, it can be payback to society, can be the society at large, a society of the community that you belong to, or the people of your own village from where you hail from.
Yes.
And this is very essential for SC/STs who enter services. For example, in Tamilnadu, there are about 70 IAS officers.
Okay. 70.
70.
Right.
It constitutes about 25%, much more than the 16% at all India level. We have 38 districts.
Okay.
That means if 2 IAS officers can apply themselves to one district, all 38 districts, they can get the benefit of the wisdom, the knowledge, and the kind of authority these people are exercising. That can be provided to the ACs over there. So this is paying back.
Okay.
So I earn, as an IAS officer, I earn a lot of money. Therefore, I give about a few thousand of rupees from the Manur from where I hail is not the only thing. You pay back what you have earned, not necessarily in monetary terms, but in so many other vistas of life, especially if it is All India services. It is the authority that you imbibe. Okay, it is power that you exercise. It is an empowered status.
Yes.
So you don't. So what is a public service? The public service is not equipping yourself so that you get so empowered. You should empower such of those people who are still seeking empowerment. That is how you look at the public service. So if you are a disciple of Ambedkar, then you will understand this and you will try to give this.
Many people are saying that they are the disciples of Ambedkar, but they are not. What is your comment on this?
Genealogically, we can say that since they are born into an SC community, they are the breed of Ambedkarites.
Okay.
But then it's only in your deeds that you can prove whether you are an Ambedkarite or not. Even if you are an SC, I have seen a lot of, as I was telling you, if all these 70 IAS officers in Tamil Nadu, they could apply themselves to one district each.
Okay.
So many of these the people would have found empowerment. Because when I know that one IAS officer is relating to me, I come out of my shells first of all.
Okay.
Because as you know that the SCs are under several times. They even if they are not in any oppressive kind of a climate, around them they always feel certain inhibitions, inhibitions affecting them. The problem of SCs I don't see as a lack of intelligence or lack of wealth and all that. The problem faced by being faced by SCs in this country is one of inhibitions. I am much more knowledge seeking people than anybody else. I have a lot of intuitive intelligence also. Most of the artistic skills come from SC people.
Okay.
So I have to express what I have.
Yes.
How do I prove that I am a knowledgeable?
How many of IAS people are expressing like you? Do you notice that?
We should
So
not feel very. We have to believe in people.
Yes.
We have to believe that they will also do something. Most of them do individually. But then doing certain thing individually is entirely different from doing things in an organized way or as a part of an organization. That is where Ambedkar said, you don't stop at stop at the stage of educating others. You educate, then you have to organize. That is the key. That's the key command of Ambedkar. Unless you can be so great in your intelligence, you can be a very great officer also. But unless you are part of, you can even have sympathies for SCs, empathies for SCs, but unless you are part of an organization, especially for SCs, you won't be able to deliver to the society. And that is where the gap remains. Individually, these SC officers in all kinds of services and in ordinary people from assistant to officers to chief secretaries, some SCs are, my certificate is not being given.
Yes,
you can immediately arrange that and give
Actually,
that.
it is a tiny problem, but it makes a
this everybody
much
does.
difference.
This everybody does.
Yes.
But that is not what is required. So we have to systemically do something. There is no point in me, every one of these IAS officers will help at least one SC individual get a college admission. And that is not sufficient. I have to educate so many of them. So that is where we are making contributions in this Ambedkar centenary educational movement that we are doing for the last 10 years, where we are able to put about 35,000 SCs in BE. The number was as low as 10,000 in 2010. And after we took up this initiative, the number has gone up to 35,000. This is what you systemically should do and can do. But you can do it not as an individual Christhu Gandhi or an IAS officer, or even if you can be an educational secretary or a chief secretary, you won't be able to do that unless you pay attention to the systemic problems of post-matric scholarship, unless you ensure that the post-matric scholarship reaches out to people in letter and spirit, you won't be able to achieve this wholesome result.
Okay.
So this is where people in SCs in government service, they have their own kind of dilemma. Many of them will say that they are not allowed by the conduct rules to be part of the associations, which is not correct. No service rules prevent you from becoming part of a member of an organization. You can even lead an organization. I was the president of 3-4 associations, including the SC/ST Employee Federation for about 10 years.
In Tamilnadu. Yes.
So it doesn't, conduct rule doesn't prevent you from applying yourself to the society, associations. Actually, the only thing it says is you should not make adverse criticism of the governments. That's all.
And do you believe in government policies like SC/ST welfare and upliftment like?
Whether we believe in the schemes already floated by the several governments or not, we have to rely upon the governments for deliverance. Because no other institution in a country can deliver to the people as much as the governments can do. It's not only for SCs, for everyone. Even a big industrialist and a corporate fellow, he has to again bank on the governments only. So we have to believe in the governments. Whether the government believes in SCs and STs or not, we have to put pressure on them to deliver. And the deliverance should not be merely alleviations and palliatives. Oh, you're okay. You're not able to go to school, so I am giving you a small slate or a paper or a pencil. That is not what is required. They are palliatives. So essentially, the governments should apply themselves to the so-called overall, as what Ambedkar has defined. Now my solution is the reclamation of my humanity, my honor, my dignity. This is what he has said. So that is where the governments are yet to apply themselves to these things. They will give you whatever food that you require for your hunger. They may quench your thirst and hunger, but SCs will have to be made empowered people. They have to be provided positions of leadership. They have to come up in their material wealth. This is where the governments are still dragging their feet, introducing very innovative, futuristic schemes.
Okay.
Though a lot of money is flowing through, under the scheduled caste sub-plan, tribal sub-plan, thousands of crores of money is flowing in. Now, Telugu Desam is providing about 20,000, Tamilnadu is about 15,000 crores. But then, if you analyze the 210 schemes they float under the
coming to the schemes of our government, Telangana government has introduced a Dalita Bandhu scheme.
Yeah.
So you comment on that scheme, sir?
The 10 lakh scheme.
Yes.
Conceptually very fine, but I am not very sure how it is getting implemented. I have heard of it about a year back, I think.
Yeah.
That is creating an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So that is what we call a futuristic.
And what about the rest of the castes like BCs and next minorities and OCs?
See, as
they also demanding for the like Dalita Bandhu, BC Bandhu and OC Bandhu also they are demanding for.
A government has to be a friend and what should I say, a friend and a parent of every other community.
That's what we are
saying. The government can't be saying that somebody is more important to me than the other.
Yes.
He is a more chosen child than other. But then the governments should apply themselves to the social equations that prevail outside. I can't be treating the oppressor and the oppressed on equal footing. This is the kind of a lesson I learned from Ambedkar for my functioning. Because in IAS or in any service for that matter, the first thing that will be taught you, told you, or the way you get trained in Missouri will always be that you have to be neutral everywhere. How can I be neutral to somebody who is inflicting the pain and somebody who is suffering the pain?
Yes.
Just think for a moment. This is not the kind of an ethos that should prevail. I must apply myself to the suppressed or oppressed or the needy more than somebody else. But whereas you will find that the government is spending such huge crores of money from the banks, you will find how many thousands of crores of money or monies are flowing to a few select people.
Yes.
They give 10,000 crores, 1 lakh crore just to select people. This is, they will say that I am being neutral. Then how can I help below the poverty line people to run a gold jewelry shop? This is the question they will ask.
Okay.
But at the same time, I am supposed to provide the necessary things for a gold jeweler. This is what they call neutrality. How can this be true? Of course, whatever the jeweler requires for opening his shop, he can do it without anybody's assistance. But I can help the below poverty line people also to run a gold jewelry shop. Why not? It need not be on Tanishq lines, but it can be on a smaller line. I can get about 10 people together and I can provide them sufficient funds to run a small jewelry shop, and thereafter they will grow. All the gold jewelry people, they had started as a small petty shop only everywhere, but you see the scale of growth they have had, right? So this is what is called empowerment.
Okay.
This is called empowerment. This empowerment you can't give if you say that you are you are tied to the so-called neutrality. There has to be a conscious kind of a decision to help who needs to be uplifted. That's an entirely, somebody can ask if I am supposed to be neutral, how can I give a higher scholarship to an SC than a BC? I should also give to BC. This is not neutrality. Whether it is a BC or OBC or so many others, so they have their own support system in the society also. The same kind of an environment is not there for an SC. So therefore, I have to give him certain additional input than what I am supposed to give to somebody else. So this is to your question as to whether the government should not be bandhus to others.
Yes,
they
yes,
have to be, but doesn't mean that if I give 1 lakh for an SC for his B education, the same money should be given to BC. Not necessary.
Okay.
That is not being bandhus to both. You become in a way antithetical to SC's interest, because if you give the same inputs to somebody else who is already sufficiently rich, he becomes more powerful than before. The equation between the BC and the SC gets enlarged. This is not the way we equalize them. You can achieve equality only by applying unequal measures.
Okay.
This is not a partiality. This is in a way an impartiality.
But each and every government has an attitude to collect the votes. They are depending upon the votes only, but not on the welfare of the caste like SCs and SCs and BCs.
I won't go too much into the political environment. There are environments in each state.
Okay.
And there are so many attitudes prevailing in the country in almost all the parties. But politically speaking, I am not happy with any one of the parties in the country.
And one more thing, sir, I am going to adding you. The people who hailed from IAS and IPS are going to politics. Do you
Why
believe in
not?
that?
Why not? I don't see anything bad in this. Yeah. We can't say that politics is limited only to this people or that people. How you enter a service is immaterial for me.
Okay.
How you enter an IAS service, how you enter the politics, how you become a chief minister, how you become a minister, how you become a panchayat president is immaterial. That is only a little part of it. After becoming so and so, what are you? How do you perform? That is what matters. So, as an IAS officer,
after this retirement, do you bringing any different movements like education to the SC/STs like?
Now that in my own way, whatever I can do, I have been doing this for long years. This is what, as an officer, if at all I have made some a difference from the other people, is number one, I have shown that as an officer, I can apply myself openly to the SC causes. I always keep my doors open, physically also. I've never, nobody needs an appointment to meet me. So of course, if I am busy and if somebody enters, I tell him politely, wait for some time, they oblige. So, this is one. So, you have to prove yourself in your profession not by going about speaking philosophies. There is a sphere of influence that you exercise in a post. That is where you have to give this to the SC/STs. That is where I have succeeded. I have never hidden the identity. The problem of identity is the crisis for a lot of people in the services.
Coming to that identity problem, identity issue also I am coming to. In AP and Telangana, some of the IAS and IPS people have got the discrimination, like so he belongs to that caste, he belongs to this caste, like so do you believe in the caste system for IAS and IPS people?
We have to revisit this caste understanding. In India, we can't say that there is no caste. There is caste. This caste system is there. But the understanding and the redefinition that is required is SC/STs are not part of this caste system. This nomenclature, scheduled caste itself is a little ironical because the scheduled people are so scheduled because they are kept outside the scope of the so-called Varna or Sanadharma or the caste system. So, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in this country are already casteless people. So, if you ask me whether you believe in the caste system when you are calling yourself as one particular scheduled caste, that it makes a difference. If I am a Pallan or a Parayar or an Arundhathiyar, if I am a Mala or Madiga, that is a kind of class differences or clan differences. That will be there everywhere in the world. But all said and done, Mala and Madiga, the Mala and Madiga are in conflict, we know that. It is not on the basis of what a caste teaches you. It is because of some perception of differences in group belongings. But we are the casteless people. So, why you call yourself by the name of Mala or Madiga if you say that you don't believe in caste is a wrong question to be raised. So, what is castelessness, and therefore how to go about the inputs to be given to a scheduled caste will always should remain on this basis. Why reservation? It is not because the people are again and again asking, by reservation you are perpetuating caste. I don't perpetuate caste. A BC reservation may perpetuate a caste division. But a reservation being done or any special measures that is given to an SC or ST in this country cannot be attributed to the perpetuation of caste, because they are being given these provisions so that the caste doesn't dominate them, nor they get dragged into this caste network or into this caste ethos, and that is why this reservation. Whereas in this country you will find that a lot of argument is still going on about then you are only crying horse that there should be no Sanadharma, there is no caste, but you yourself are asking reservation and caste. Why? It's a very silly question. As far as I am concerned, it is because people have not perceived who these scheduled castes are in this country. Scheduled castes of this country are primarily knowledge-seeking people.
Okay.
All through these years, they are not unqualified people,
Okay.
as they are trying to make out.
Okay.
Why are you seeking reservation? Because you are not qualified as the others. You are seeking relaxation. That is not the question at all. That's not the question at all. That is not the reason for which scheduled castes have to be given. You as a caste, unfortunately, numerically is about 70%. The casteless people, the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, are about 25%. So there is this dominance of numbers. Always this minority in numbers, not minority in merit or minority in skills, minority in potentials. That is not the definition of minority. It's only numbers. Always these 70% people number can always dominate over them and make them subordinate to them, because their caste by itself, their caste formulas say that you have to have these people as your subordinates.
Subordinates only.
So I am trying to get out of that.
Yes.
So this is the basis for which special attention is being given to scheduled caste, and therefore the officers who hail from these people should feel very proud that they belong to this special casteless community.
But
whereas they feel
but
so
not like you. So many people are not saying about their caste. I hail from this caste. I hail from that caste. They are not what do you call? They are not giving the details to the society to hear.
I know that the situation prevails in this
No one
country.
is saying proudly that I belongs to SC, I belongs to ST. No one is saying like that.
So that is where we have to bring this consciousness into them.
Right.
When they are told and when they understand that
Okay.
they belong to this brave, it's a very vibrant and a very the vigorous kind of a. I have to be very strong to be a casteless man in this country.
Okay.
Because always 70% of people are trying to do this and that. I have to stand up to them and thrive in that. Not only thriving, I have to show my prowess vis-a-vis those 70% of people. We have been doing this. This is the pride of this community.
Right. After retirement from the service, are you trying for uplift to the SC/ST, or suppose for them, for their welfare, you are trying to?
That's what I told. I have a lot of satisfaction of what I could do after my retirement than what I could do in the IAS service for 35 long years.
Yeah.
In this Ambedkar education movement, as I told you, which we started in the year 2012, that is the year when Ambedkar got his PhD.
Okay.
So that is why we call it an Ambedkar.
Centenary.
That is the 100th year of his PhD.
Yeah.
So that is why we call it a Ambedkar Centenary educational movement.
Yes.
The intention is to lift these people up to that level.
With the help of education only that you bring.
Not just education as such, not just literacy, not just giving them elementary education, not even school education.
Okay.
So Ambedkar didn't cease with these things. He went far beyond to prove a point. To prove a point, that's why he went abroad, even before anybody else could go.
Yes.
And he could prove that he could get these PhDs not just once or twice, not just once but twice. So bringing these people up to the level, up to that level, is the objective of this Ambedkar education movement, where we could fairly succeed. I don't think I could have done so many things to put about 35,000 SCs in BE in my 35-year-long IAS career, which I could do in in 1 decade after my retirement.
Right. Finally, I pose a final question, sir. Have you satisfied with the IAS, or after retirement you are getting satisfaction?
IAS is giving me so much of money. Even as a pension, I am getting more than a lakh of rupees. Why should I not be satisfied with the service? For the survival of the individual, IAS is such a cushy place, and nobody need to have any regrets about that. But then, as a genre, as an individual, I would have done so many things. But whether the genre IAS as such, the cadre IAS as such, is doing the same thing, is where you get so disappointed. Because the people in the service, instead of serving the people, they more serve their bosses.
Okay.
And that is how the service has changed, and it's changing towards that direction only.
Okay.
So but the individual can still serve the people in spite of so many other things. It all depends upon the conviction of the IAS officer. So if you are really a man of conviction in the service, you can deliver a lot of things to our own people. So that's way the service as such is good. But how you contribute yourself after coming into the service will depend upon the individual ethos and the approach.
I agree with you, sir. Thanks for being with me, sir. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
రైట్, మొత్తానికి ఐఏఎస్ కానీ ఐపీఎస్ కానీ అఖిల భారత సర్వీస్ ఏదైనా సరే మరి దేశానికి అందులో ఉన్న ప్రజలకు సర్వీస్ చేయడమే నా యొక్క మెయిన్ మోటో అంటూ కూడా క్రిస్తుదాస్ గాంధీ గారు ఐఏఎస్ రిటైర్డ్ చెప్పడం జరిగింది. మరి ఈ యొక్క ఎస్సీ ఎస్టీ కమ్యూనిటీలకు సంబంధించి మరి ప్రభుత్వాలు కూడా ఏవైతే ఆ పాలసీస్ అప్లై చేస్తున్నాయో పర్ఫెక్ట్గా అప్లై చేసినప్పుడు వారిని అప్లిఫ్ట్ చేసినట్లుగా భావించబడుతుందంటూ కూడా మరి ఐఏఎస్ రిటైర్డ్ ఆఫీసర్ క్రిస్తుదాస్ గాంధీ గారు చెప్పడం జరిగింది. ఇది ఇవాళ స్పెషల్ ఎపిసోడ్. కీప్ వాచింగ్.